Hi everyone, hola a todos, boa tarde, and thank you for tuning in to today's live Hangouts on collaborating and innovating with Google Drive. Today we're going to hear stories and insights from some great Drive users who have used Drive to innovate. They'll talk about how their companies are taking full advantage of Drive and of technology in general to work in creative, global, and collaborative ways. Hopefully this will help all of our viewers learn about new ways that they can use Drive to connect and innovate as well. So I'm Ariel, and this is our Google expert, Bobby Brenman. With years of marketing experience at Google and having played a central role in the launch of Google Drive for Work, he'll be able to help answer any of the Ask the Expert questions that you might have. So before we dive in, let's introduce our three leaders who are going to share their wisdom and their experiences about using Drive in some of the most creative ways. We have today Pablo Lema, Daniel Tamashiro, and Guilherme Cruz. So let's let them introduce themselves. Daniel.
Hey, hi everybody. I'm Daniel, and let me introduce you our company. Frecuencia Latina is Peruvian largest broadcast corporation. We offer variety content. We offer multiple platforms. You can reach us from stand devices and also mobile. 2 years ago, Frecuencia Latina's 100% of its shares are controlled by an invested fund. No? We are preparing the transformation of the digital market, strengthening our core, being global, optimizing our product and server mix, and digitization. Our new mission is to succeed. Formerly content-centric media must adopt an audience-centric strategy. I am the IT manager and also responsible of improving process in our company. Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. And now let's hear from Pablo Lema.
Hello, everybody. My name is Pablo Lema. I'm Operations Director of Nuvolcloud. Nuvol is part of the Seidor Group as a company worldwide. We have presence in Latin America, and we are focused just in Google with operating in more than 5 countries in Latin America. We are a part of the strategy of Google Enterprise operating in those countries, and we have an experience with respect of the success stories with working with Google solutions like Google Apps and Google Drive for Work. Let's try to get some vision respect of this success story that we have to share with you respect of the issues and concerns and the success promotion that we have with working with Google Drive solutions across these countries and also with this case.
Great. Thanks, Pablo. And now, Guilherme.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I'm Guilherme Cruz, CIO of Wilson Sons. I have already worked in many other areas like marketing, sales, and planning. Let me tell you about Wilson Sons. We are the largest port, marine, and logistics company in Brazil. Our business is very complex, sharing many businesses around our country. We are 176 years old, so we are very old and traditional, but also modern at the same time. And it makes our business very interesting. Our main challenge today is to use much more technology to improve our performance in general.
Wow, thank you, Guilherme. So now that you guys have introduced yourselves, we'd love to just open the floor up to you guys. You can talk about how you've been able to really facilitate global collaboration by using Drive. So we'll start with Daniel.
Okay, here we go. Drive really helped us to improve the press release process. Let me explain to you how. Everything starts when press manager asks or requests us to buy 50 computers to our newsroom, so that more reporters could write their press releases at the same time. Now we have 50 computers. They want 50 more because they are 150 reporters. And I told them, wait a minute. No, I told him that 3 months ago we brought 150 brand new 4G smartphones. No, those are also computers too. I asked him today to figure it out. How can we help him with low-cost solutions? What we did is that we created a file using Drive, so that each producer could share it with their teams. We install Drive in every smartphone and allow these reporters to write and edit their notes remotely, no matter where they are located. The results was incredible. Within just 1 month of implementing this new strategy, the production of press releases increased by a full 40%. This was true innovation and required collaborative work.
Great, thank you, Danielle. It's I also wanted to say just thank you for everyone for doing this Hangout on air in English. I know it's not everyone's native language, so we appreciate the do this. So doing this, we can go out to our international audiences. It's amazing how often we hear the story of collaboration at work and of the mobile workforce, right? And obviously within the news environment, right, when reporters are in the field, it's great to hear these types of stories, and obviously a 40% increase in the number of stories you're able to produce, that makes us happy. Why don't next go to Pablo? Pablo, for you to share a little bit of your story.
Okay, as I mentioned at first, like Google Enterprise Partner that we have operation across Latin America, since Nuvol are operating with Google, we identified some cases of collaboration with Google Drive for more than 700 projects that we have across these countries. And we are being focused with one of them in Argentina as a part of this history. Our exciting success history is a client naming Cienza, is a pharma industry as a vertical, and drugs and logistics respect of the operations here in Argentina and Uruguay. The company have 700 employees, and one of their issues that they have, first of all, was to identify, to move large size of documents and image of labels and protocols of those drugs to share with the mobile force, as they call it, the mobile force or the sales force is an APMs. These APMs are working across the country and working across the streets, and they need to access those large documents through a repository with their device. So they are using mobiles facing an Androids and iPads, also tablets to share the information with their customers. So this point is important to mention. Respect of they are a very leading company with the governments, and they need to take a security leverage respect of all the movements that they have across the country in terms of sales, in terms of participations. So with using Google Drive, they also have the solutions based not just in collaboration, also with the auditing and compliance process, like other part of the solution that is a part of Drive for Work and Apps for Business, for example. And they are a very centralized administration of all those documents and all this information that is shared in the cloud. So this company have a very it's a great cases. It's a great use cases, as we said, or business case that we can share with you in across all the countries that we have operations, so we can invite you to talk respect about that.
Excellent. And I know that's looking at some of the questions that have been asked on the Hangout on Air. I know there have been a couple around security and a couple around sharing files with mobile workforces. So it's great, obviously, to hear the real world examples there. Guilherme, I wanted to turn over to you. I know you've got I've heard your story, and it's one that's very exciting. So let's let you hear about you from a global collaboration perspective.
Okay, Bob. At first, thank you very much for recognize our effort to do it in English. That's really tough for us. In fact, that's more challenging thing here. But let's tell you a little bit about Wilson Sons. We have about 30 sites spread all around Brazil and some board members in Europe. And we need to share easily and fast between all teams. The Drive has been a platform that made us sharing become possible for us. For example, to make a presentation in the past, it used to be necessary for us to complete a full draft before send. And now we just share the draft in a Google Drive and start with just single idea without finishing anything and starting share and collaborate with all people together. It's faster, start to happen sooner in a creative process. It is much more efficient than ever. Just because you're using primary drive to work. It's a big change in way of work. But of course, to improve our way of working and also engage people on that. Another example, when you do our IT planning, instead of producing full drafts of work, we simply do a brainstorm together on Google Docs in the first beginning. Now people can add comment on their co-workers' thoughts. This allows us to take risks and have a culture that embraces creative and brainstorming. Instead of a culture where people feel pressure to produce final draft of everything on their own. Here at Wilson Sons, people feel free and comfortable to share information with each other. Google, for us, is much more than technology. It improves our performance all around and allows us to achieve productivity.
Wow, thanks so much for sharing that, Guilherme. I mean, it's amazing to hear that you guys are really collaborating on a whole different level and that there's this new culture of brainstorming and working together to solve problems. That's really what we love to hear. So now that we've heard all of these awesome stories about how you guys are collaborating with your businesses, we want to hear stories about a time that your company found itself doing something really creative, different, innovative, or unexpected. So a time when you tried kind of a new and a cool approach to solving a problem by using technology and specifically Drive. So we can turn it over to Daniel first.
Okay, one more example. To increase productivity of our reporters as they came out with the press releases, we use Drive to come out with a great solution. Basically, we create a daily report template. We agree a daily target and publish results. That was magic. Reporters are very competitive people. No one wanted to be the worst. Also, we designed a routine to analyze results and to share feedback weekly. And for monthly results, we designed an incentive plan. We are the most where the most productive reporter could be named Reporter of the Month. The results were extremely satisfying. After just 2 months of implementing this strategy, there was 60% increase in productivity of the entire team of reporters. That was hua.
That's awesome. We love to hear about productivity increases. Pablo, do you want to talk next about your perspective?
Yeah, for sure. In respect of this used to share the innovation history with the same customer as I mentioned first, respect of the pharma industry as a vertical. They asked to develop an application using Drive, using Google Plus, and also using Google Forms to identify three points as a central respect of the HR area, the human resource area, for all of you guys to understand better, is using a career plan, using as a community with their whole employees in the country, can access to a career plan, sharing information of through Google Plus, and also with some forms that are developed in the same platform as a use case. So that's a very interesting point. The second point is to take the dining and food for the employees to share, respect to order by day, and take some dashboard of orders respect of the dining for the lunch moments. All employees in the same building. So that was developed also in Google Plus with Google Forms, using in the same cases as I told you first. And the third is very interesting respect of the evaluation performance system to whole employees, also by area, using across this Google Plus and Google Drive, and taking obviously the security first back with Google Vault, and share all this information between the community, between the employees, to share information respect of careers, the new announcements of the company, and also to take some knowledge about of their career weekly and monthly, and as a quarter performance evaluation system. So that's my that's the case that what we can share with you, and also to share with everybody to understand or take reference as a customers, also to talk with them in each moment to work more deeply.
Great, thank you, Pablo. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to hear the stories from you guys as well as other customers about the increase in transparency and the ability to bring different teams together across different functions. So it's I love hearing these examples, and hopefully for our audience tuning in worldwide, these are great examples to inspire, right, in terms of how Google Drive and Google Apps for Business is used. Guillermo, I wanted to turn over to you for your story.
Okay, let's do it. Our company, as mentioned, is 176 years old. But in the last years, we have invested a lot in new companies, new sites, in order to grow even more our business. So we are old and traditional, but also modern, which makes us our business very interesting and very complex. Google Drive has been great because it allows us to reach people all around Brazil and the world. The Drive allows our company to grow. Here is a story that comes to my mind right now about one time when we need to grow in a big way. We knew that in order to continuously grow in a successful way, we need to create a balance scorecard for our company. We came up with several ways to do this. But most options were either expensive, overly complex, or too slow to implement. After exhausting what felt like every option, we decided to do a pilot where we switched from Office to using Google Drive 100% of the time. And after running this pilot, the executives in the company agreed that using Drive to create a balance scorecard for the company was by the simplest, easiest, and most developed method to do it. The balance scorecard was our first, big, and good solution, but certainly not our last project that we use Drive to work on. We currently use strictly Google Drive to process and share all information around the company. It's now easy for us to publish dashboards to show our KPIs, and work has become much simpler since we began to use only Google Sheets and Google Docs to produce information. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Guilherme. It's amazing to hear how you kind of springboarded off of this experience of using Drive to create your balanced scorecard and then started using Drive for everything, and how that really helped you be more innovative as a company. And like Bobby said, we hope that these stories are helping our viewers worldwide kind of figure out ways that they too can innovate using Drive. So thank you guys so much. To wrap up, we wanted to open up for a Q&A session so people can ask the Google expert any questions that they might have on their mind.
And our guests.
And of course, our guests are going to answer some questions if they'd like to as well. So we had one question that was posted in the G Plus group from Pedro Rogerio Ferreira Luis. The question is, what is the roadmap of Google Docs to improve the conversion of MS Office files to minimize the risk of losing some fidelity or formatting, especially in complex spreadsheets or presentations?
Sure. So I'll answer this first, and then definitely, it would love any perspective from the companies presenting here today. So at Google I/O this past June, we announced a lot of updates in terms of how our users and customers can interact with Google Sheets, Slides, Docs. One of those aspects was the integration of the Quick Office product that we have, which now allows you to view and edit Microsoft Office files from the desktop or from your mobile phone, be that Android or iOS devices. So if you think about somebody that shares a Microsoft PowerPoint file with you, and you're on the road and you need to be able to open that file, you can now do that without having a Microsoft Office license. You can open that up directly from your mobile phone or from your computer. In terms of converting, some of the parts of the questions around fidelity. So when you convert a document over to a Google Doc format, so then you can take advantage of the real-time collaboration, the real-time editing. I would encourage everyone to make sure that you keep trying this functionality. We've got obviously a major focus for us is making sure that the conversion is extremely smooth and that there's minimal loss of fidelity. And the product team has been making, from my perspective, amazing strides over the past year in terms of functionality. And obviously, this work is ongoing. So, my biggest advice to people when talking with customers and friends and family that use this is, if you tried it a year ago and something wasn't working, make sure you give it a try again, today, because there have been massive amounts of improvements from that aspect, and this will only continue to improve. Guilherme or Pablo or Danielle, did you guys have any thoughts on that?
I had a question, but you answered that already. Right now, I'm using Google Drive for PC, and I would love to tell everybody they can use, they can install Google Drive for iOS or Android devices, and the answer is yes. You already told us. Oh?
Great.
Great. So we have another question that was posted by Uriel Merola. The question is there any way to synchronize or access shared files on Drive with Google Drive desktop app?
Definitely. So, hopefully you guys have been able to see and download the desktop sync client, which is available for the Mac operating system as well as the Windows operating system. With that application, once that's downloaded, you're able to then keep files in sync between multiple computers as well as the web. So if you imagine you have a computer used at the office, a computer used at home, you can then keep files between those two computers in sync, as well as having the access from any web browser that you log into, as well as any mobile device that you log into. So definitely, important functionality that we rely on here at Google, and I know a lot of our customers rely on as well. So yes, Uriel, definitely something that you can do today.
Great. And then we have another question here posted by, let's see, posted by Ashish Bataju. The question is, will it officially be available for Linux?
Yeah, so this is a question that we hear a lot, and obviously, we know there's a lot of demand for a Linux client, for the sync client that I was just talking about. This is something that's definitely in the works from our product team, and will be coming out hopefully in the next few months. So we don't have a hard timeline in terms of the exact date that it'll be released, but definitely something that is a high priority for us, and we can expect in the next couple of months.
Okay.
I know there was another question that I saw on the board about whiteboarding and the possibility of how to use Google Drive for that, if there's specific applications for that. So the short answer, then, I'd love the perspective from our audience members here is, there is Google Drawings is one of the applications that's available for users, which allows you to do some forms of whiteboarding. And there's also a lot of third-party applications that you can integrate with Google Drive that bring true whiteboarding functionality. But I know from our audience members, you guys have talked quite a bit about how the product is used internally. I just wonder if you had any examples that you could share about similar to a whiteboarding use case that in terms of how you use Google Drive. Pablo, did you have any thoughts on that? It looks like you just...
Just to share the common respect of perception, or to putting down the barriers respect of the vision that we have with Google. Everybody knows that it's a shift paradigm, and I invite all of you guys to get the vision or evangelize to respect of the other community of users and companies also, as not just a consumer industry, also as a company or enterprise movements that we have with enterprise in the whole region. Is respect of the vision that have Google, respect of it's a business transformation to get a new vision, respect of to doing business, to connect people. And get a new vision with respect to sharing and collaborate and bring a digital transformation to own business. Is a part of the use of these services or these useful tools that is a part of our day, and it's a part of the way as we live. Just it's not just a vision of the consumers, it's also a vision of the companies to invite these guys to use this technology to move, to get the movements with respect of the use of this technology that will be increase your business.
Great. I did want to take time for. I know we're running a few minutes over. I did want to take time for one last question, because I think it's really important. I think it's something that Guilherme definitely can talk to a little bit. But so the question is, how important were your Google deployments? How important were the Drive training? Right. So did you invest a lot of time training your users on Google Drive, or how did you go about that? So Guilherme, I don't know if you want to just take a few seconds and just talk about that from your perspective.
In fact, it was very easy to train people in Google Drive. It's very intuitive. So, of course, you have some very quickly course, very quickly explains, but the most part of that is intuitive. The people still doing, because the people doing it at home as well. So it's very easy, because they bring the knowledge they have by yourselves to the company. So you enjoy experience. That's a really way of change. Things happens in a different way. It's not a traditional method of training. You need to train by themselves. It's easy to explain. It's easy to share. The people learn with each others. So it's very fast, very easy, very quick to train and develop in Google Drive.
It's very easy to sell a product with such a kind of benefits. It's very easy to sell.
Yeah, great. So we've had a lot of awesome questions. We've heard great stories from Daniel, Pablo, and Guilherme. And with that, we're going to wrap things up. So thank you so much to all of our viewers for tuning in today. And un millón de gracias. Obrigada. Thank you guys so much, Guilherme, Daniel, and Pablo. This video will be on YouTube, available for viewing if you missed anything during the live version. And be sure to comment and post if you have any questions or comments.
And we'll be sure to go through also and try and answer any of the remaining questions. I know there were a couple that we didn't have a chance to get to today, so we'll be following up and trying to answer all those questions. So as Ariel said, thank you for the time today, and if you have other questions, please post them to our Google Enterprise channel. Thank you.